Fred Rogers, we've been talking about these last weeks, Fred Rogers, he died 15 years ago, back in 2003. 14 years later, an ISIS suicide bomber attacked an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, UK. He killed 22 people. Half of those people were kids. 250 people were wounded in that attack. The power to hurt and destroy can happen in a second. Creating, growing, and healing, they take much, much longer. Evil seems to have such a big advantage in that, because in seconds, a hate-filled person can destroy bodies raised with parents' love for years, relationships that have taken years to grow. When you think, and I think about this every kid you see and every adult you see, when you think about the amount of time, think about the time, if you've ever been a parent, of love and effort that goes into just those first few years of having a child. It's amazing. We are born helpless, absolutely requiring the care of another person to even survive. And when you witness the devastation of an event, that what happened last year in Manchester, in Parkland, Florida, Las Vegas, San Diego, what a single person who has been fed and consumed by hate, what they can do in a matter of moments. How can people stand up against such reckless hate?
Hear an ancient prayer recorded in the Psalms. Rescue me from evil people, Lord. Guard me from violent people who plot evil things in their hearts, who pick fights every single day. They sharpen their tongues like a snake's. Spider poison is on their lips. Protect me from the power of the wicked, Lord. Guard me from violent people.
Violence, terrorism, it's a tool of those who have been consumed by evil. It's nothing new to the human experience. The followers of Jesus, they were persecuted, whipped, fed to lions, crucified. They knew the power of evil. It's nothing new. Yet today, the weapons that are available to us, to evil people, are far more destructive than ever before. And so how can people stand against such reckless hate, such evil? Last year, after the Manchester bombing, there was a video that started getting shared around the internet. And like most things, before it went viral, it started small, but it grew to hundreds of thousands of people viewing this video. It was the video of a man who most of the concert goers were far too young to have ever heard of.
You know, my mother used to say a long time ago, whenever there would be any really catastrophe that was in the movies or on the air, she would say, always look for the helpers. There will always be helpers, you know, even just on the sidelines. That's why I think that if news programs could make a conscious effort of showing rescue teams, of showing who medical people, anybody who is coming into a place where there's a tragedy, to be sure that they include that. Because if you look for the helpers, you'll know that there's hope.
The Christian legacy of Fred Rogers continues. If you look for the helpers, you will know that there is hope. That's a message of the power of resurrected grace. That in the face of hate and violence, God will respond with love. There will always be agents, people, working for love and mercy who will respond. This man, immediately following the bomb in Manchester, this man, Stephen Jones, was 35 years old last year. He was homeless, living on the streets in Manchester, and he saw a concert that the tickets were far more than anything he could afford. And when he saw the people fleeing from the stadium, he thought that there had been some horrible fireworks accident. He'd seen the blast and saw the smoke. And then he saw the wounded. And he went in and began to pull the nails from the bodies of children. He began to carry the children to safety. There was Paula Robertson. She was outside and she saw 50 terrified girls who had been at the concert, crying, and she shepherded them. She got them together with love, and she moved them into a nearby Holiday Inn. Then she used social media to let their parents know where they could find them. This is the message that she put out. The people who were on staff at that Holiday Inn, they saw the children come in. They saw Paula's kids come in, and they began to bring the children tea, to help comfort them, to bring blankets. They were helpers. It was the community of Manchester that rallied together in the name of love, building a monument to the love that was expressed, who honored the people that were the helpers that day. It's been a year since, and they continue to honor the helpers. Because if you look for the helpers, you will know that there is hope. And I want to say something about the helpers. Those agents of God's love and mercy. Just as evil people have been consumed, they've been fed, and they've been consumed by hate, helpers have been fed and consumed by love. We reflect what's at our core. We act out of what's at our core. Last week, like I was telling the kids earlier, one of our middle school confirmation kids asked, "What is a Christian?" And I'd like to attempt an answer at that a little bit right now. Jesus taught a way of love. While he was alive, he would send groups of a couple people, little teams of a couple people, out all over the place. All over the place. He would send these teams out with two main missions. And if there is nothing else you take from today, know the missions. The missions were to teach and to heal, to be helpers.
Jesus commissioned 72 others and sent them on ahead in pairs to every city and place he was about to go. He said to them, "The harvest is bigger than you can imagine, but there are few workers. Therefore, plead with the Lord of the harvest to send out workers for his harvest. Go. Be warned, though, that I am sending you out as lambs among wolves. Carry no wallet, no bag, and no sandals. Don't even greet anyone along the way. Whenever you enter a house, first say, "May peace be on this house." If anyone there shares God's peace, then your peace will rest on that person. If not, your blessing will return to you. Remain in this house, eating and drinking whatever they set before you, for blessing will return to you. Don't move from house to house. Whenever you enter a city and its people welcome you, eat what they set before you. Heal the sick who are there and say to them, "God's kingdom has come upon you." Whenever you enter a city and the people don't welcome you, go out into the street and say, "As a complaint against you, we brush off the dust of your city that is collected on our feet. But know this, God's kingdom has come to you."
Jesus never forced himself or his way of living on someone else. His disciples, they went out to offer teaching and healing to anyone. Never forcing it on them, but offering it to everyone. After being trained as disciples, because it doesn't happen by osmosis, after being trained as disciples, Jesus sent people out to share what they had learned and what they had experienced with other people. And his church is still trying to do that. We offer study and classes in Christian education to help teach Jesus' way, rooted in Judaism. We offer opportunities to be agents of love in the world. And we need people to start as children and to make this a path throughout their entire lives. This week alone, you can help with Big Search KC to help find missing children in our city. Because finding the lost, if you know the scriptures, you know that finding the lost is certainly what Jesus taught. Or you can help out with Molly's table, to bring food or to chaperone or to watch the kids, to honor mothers living in a shelter, very tiny space, I'm telling you that, who are trying to find new life and hope. And this week, we're going to break bread with them here at Colonial on Thursday night, as we do constantly. And then we're going to go downstairs and we're going to open up Molly's, we're going to open up our rummage sale because to help these moms find clothes and items that can rebuild their households of love and care for their children. And we do this as an act of free grace. We do all of this in the name of love. We have those among us, we have leaders who help organize and create these opportunities. And we thank God for those leaders in our church. But we all have a part to play. We're called as disciples to serve, to teach, to heal. We do this because we're being sent out as the type of helpers that the world needs. But be warned, there are wolves, threats out there, threats that are beyond just a few hate-filled terrorists. Because I believe that perhaps the greatest enemy to love is the temptation of revenge when it comes disguised in the name of justice. Because after witnessing acts of terrorism, racism, of hate, it is tempting to want a little payback, to punish an evildoer. But the way of Jesus says, don't pay back anyone for their evil actions with evil actions. Justice belongs to God. In theology, We call that the myth, the falsehood of redemptive violence. The idea that violence can be used justly. That was actually the subject in our adult Christian ed class last month. Because perhaps there are times when violence can be used to stop horrible aggression. Perhaps, maybe, very, very rarely. But the idea of redemptive violence, righteous violence, it can be a trap. Because the moment that you begin thinking that repaying violence with violence sounds like a good idea, you are straying from the path of Christ. And it's way too easy to do. It's the lure of you to make revenge sound like justice. There's a whole lot of that going on these days. Please know that it won't work. Violence does not heal. And if you are tempted to think otherwise, know that that voice of temptation, that is not the voice of God. That is something else. Beware of wolves in disguise. Instead, train yourself. Train yourself as a helper. Be the change that you want to see in the world by training yourself for ministries that teach and heal. Be part of this community's continuing mission. Because I guarantee you this, that God is going to put people and opportunities in your life to serve, to make a difference. God is going to put those opportunities in your life this week. I guarantee it. You have to look for it. There are plenty of struggling, lonely people who need a person who comes in the name of love. Just to sit for a moment, to listen, to care. People like Anthony Bresnikan.
Twitter, he began. I was struggling, lonely, dealing with a lot of broken pieces and not adjusting well. Then one day, he said he walked into an empty conference with the TV on.
And there was Mr. Rogers. I just stood there, mesmerized.
He watched the entire episode and felt a little better.
To talk about.
But says the real fix came a few days later.
Yeah, I'm going downstairs to the lobby of the student union and the elevator opens. And Mr. Rogers is standing there. And I just got in the elevator and he said, "Were you one of my television neighbors?" I was like, "Yes, I'm one of your neighbors."
Anthony told him how he'd just watched the show and how it made him feel better.
He sat down and he said, "Would you like to tell me what was upsetting you?" I didn't have anybody that I could talk to like that. I feel like his trolley car. I fell off the track. He put me back on. And that was all I needed. And at one point I said, "I'm really sorry, I'm tying you up. And you have somewhere else to go." And he said, "Sometimes you're in just the right place."
You will find yourself in the right place. Filled and consumed by a message of love. From your core, you will be able to respond in those moments. 1, 4, 3. I love you. You will do that in your words, and you'll do that in your actions. And if you ever doubt the power of love in the face of reckless hate, know this. God continues to raise up agents of mercy and loving kindness. And we helpers, we outnumber those who would use violence 1,000,000 to 1. But we still need more. May the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. today we have some people who have decided to work with our church